Mani Gora Amani Jage Mutila Haruna Pakata Samuhalahi Esate Gela Nagara Braje Tatai tatai bajalako Gana gana tahe jachiraro Preme dala dala sonaranga Charane nupuravaje Mukunda Madhava Jadava Hari Bole na volore Vangana Bode Miche Nidha Bose Gelore Rate Divasha Sharira Saje He mana durlabha manava deho Paya ki koro bhavana keho Eve na bajila jashoda suta Chadame badi belaje Udita tapana hoile asta Dinagelo bole hoi biebiasta Tebe keno ebe alasa hoi Na bhaja hridaya raje Sahai na bhaja hridaya raje Jivana nitya jana sar Tohe nana vidha vipadhabar Namashraya kodi jatana tumi Takaha panakaje Jivera kalyana sadhana kam Jagate asiye madhuranam Avidyate mera tapana rupe Rigagane viraje Krishna nam shuddha kauriya pan Juda bhakti vinoda pran Nambina kichu nahi ko ara choda puvana mahaje Nambina kichu nahi ko ara choda puvana mahaje Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. When a tinge of red on the eastern horizon heralded the sunrise, the jewel of the twice-born, Lord Gaurasundar, immediately awakened. Taking his devotees with him, he went all over the countryside, visiting the towns and villages of Nadia. The mridangas resounded, tatai, tatai. The cymbals chimed in time, and Lord Gauranga's footbells jingled as his golden form trembled slightly in ecstatic love of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya called out to the townsfolk, "You spend your nights uselessly sleeping and your days decorating your bodies. Now just fill your mouths with the vibration of the holy names, Mukunda, Madhava, Jadava, Hari, chanting without offense. You have achieved the rare human body. Don't you care for this gift? If you do not serve the darling of Jasoda now, great sorrow awaits you at death. Each time the sun rises and sets, a day passes and is lost. Then why do you remain idle and refuse to serve the Lord of the heart? Understand this essential fact. Life is temporary and full of all kinds of miseries. So make it your only business to take shelter of the holy name and always engage in his service." Desiring to bless all souls, the sweet name of Krishna has descended to the material world and now shines like the sun in the sky of the heart, destroying the darkness of ignorance. Drink the pure nectar of the holy name of Krishna and thus satisfy the soul of Bhakti Vinod. There's nothing but the holy name within all the 14 worlds. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaridhari Jasodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Jasodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaridhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaridhari Sodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaridhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaridhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrata Kacharja Ashtotar Srimad Abhayacharana Vindam Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Kori Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Iskan Vibhiti Sangstapakacharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Navadi Dham Ki Jai Ganga Maya Jamuna Maya Ki Jai Shrimati Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Shrimati Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Samveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 30, entitled, The Activities of the Prachetas. Okay. Text number 2. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Kim Barhaspatyeha Paratravata. Kim Barhaspatyeha Paratravata. Kaivalyanata Priya Parshvavartinaha. Kaivalyanata Priya Parshvavartinaha. Asadyadevam Girisham Yadrichchaya. Asadyadevam Girisham Adrichchaya. Prapu param nu namata prachetasaha. Prapu param nu namata prachetasaha. Kim barhaspatyeha paratravata. Kaivalyanata Priya Parshvavartinaha. Asadya Devam Girisham Yadrichchaya. Prapu Parang Nunamata Prachetasaha. Kim Barhaspatyeha Paratravata. Kaivalyanata Priya Parshvavartinaha. Asadya Devam Girisham Yadrichchaya. Prapu parang nunamata prachetasaha. Kim barhaspatyeha paratravata. Kaivalyanata priya parshvavartinaha. Asadya Devam Girisham Yadrichchaya. Prapu parang nunamata prachetasaha. King Barhaspatyeha Paratravata. Kaivalyanata Priya Parshvavartina. Asadya Devam Girisham Yadrichchaya. Prapu Parang Nunamata Prachetasaha. Kim Barhaspatyeha Paratravata. Kaivalyanata Priyabhashvavartinaha Asadya Devam Girisham Yadrischaya Prapu Parang Nunamata Prachetasaha. Lead. Kimbar Haspatyeha Paratravata Kaivalyanata Priyaparshvavartinaha Asadya Devam Girisham Yadrischaya Prapu Param Nunamata Prachetasaha. Ladies. Kimbar Haspatyeha Paratravata Kaivalyanata Priyaparshvavartina Asadya Devam Girisham Yadrischaya Kim, what? Barhaspatya, O disciple of Brihaspati. Iha, here. Paratra, in different planets. Va, or. Ata, as such. Kaivalyanata, to the bestower of liberation. Priya, dear. Parshvavartana, being associated with. Asadya, after meeting. Devam, the great demigod. Girisham, the Lord of the Kailash hill. Yadrichaya, by providence. Prapuhu, achieved. Param, the supreme. Nunam, certainly. Ata, therefore. Prachetasaha, the sons of Barhishat. Translation. My dear Barhaspatya, what did the sons of King Barhishat, known as the Prachetas, obtain after meeting Lord Shiva, who is very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the bestower of liberation? Certainly they were transferred to the spiritual world, but apart from that, what did they obtain within this material world, either in this life or in other lives? Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. All types of material happiness are obtained in this life or in the next life, on this planet or on another. The living entity wanders within this material universe in so many species of life and so many planetary systems. The distress and happiness obtained during the span of life are called iha, and the distress and happiness obtained in the next life are called paratra. Actually, Lord Mahadev, Shiva, is one of the great demigods within this material world. Generally, his blessings bestowed on ordinary people mean material happiness. The predominating deity of this material world, Durga, is under the control of Mahadev, Girisha. Thus, Lord Mahadev can offer anyone any kind of material happiness. Generally, people prefer to become devotees of Lord Girisha to obtain material happiness. But the Prachetas met Lord Mahadev by providential arrangement. Lord Mahadev instructed them to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he personally offered a prayer. As stated in the previous verse, Rudragitena, simply by chanting the prayers offered by Lord Shiva to Vishnu, the Prachetas were transferred to the spiritual world. Sometimes devotees desire to enjoy material happiness also. Therefore, by the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the devotee is given a chance to enjoy the material world before his final entrance into the spiritual world. Sometimes a devotee is transferred to a heavenly planet, to Janalok, Maharlok, Tapolok, Siddhalok, and so on. However, a pure devotee never aspires for any kind of material happiness. The pure devotee is consequently transferred directly to Vaikuntha Loka, which is described here as Param. In this verse, Vidura asks Maitreya, the disciple of Brihaspati, about the different achievements of the Prachetas. Om Ajnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Maditam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, we see that Vidura is continuing to inquire from Maitreya. Vidura is a great devotee of the Lord. We know from the Mahabharata that before the battle of Kurukshetra, he was trying to advise Dhritarashtra not to go against the Pandavas. And his son, Dhritarashtra's son, Duryodhana, he didn't like that. So he insulted Vidura. He called him a Dasiputra. Vidura, although his father was Vyasadeva, same as Dhritarashtra or Pandu, his mother was the maidservant. So therefore he was known as Dasiputra. But Dhritarashtra had great affection for Vidura. And Vidura is known as Mahatma Vidura, used to give good advice to Dhritarashtra. But because Dhritarashtra was not only blind material, he was also blind by his attachment to his sons, headed by Duryodhana. So he couldn't go against the desires of Duryodhana, even though he knew that Vidura's advice was best. After Duryodhana insulted Vidura, he left the palace and he went on pilgrimage. And on his pilgrimage, he met Uddhava. Uddhava was there, and Uddhava informed him about the battle of Kurukshetra being over and that Lord Krishna had left the planet. So Vidura was very much affected by separation from the Lord and the other persons. So he wanted to hear from Uddhava regarding the pastimes of the Lord. But Uddhava explained to him that I can't, because I've been ordered, before Krishna left, he ordered me to go to Badrinath and to explain to the devotees there what the situation was and to give them some association. He said, but if you want to hear, Maitreya is well versed and you can hear from him. So Maitreya and Vidura began to their Krishna Katha. And this story of the Prachetas is part of that. Vidura is inquiring now, after hearing the allegorical explanation of King Paranjan that was explained by Narad to Prachina Barishat. Vidura further inquired about the sons of King Prachina Barishat, how they obtained salvation by reciting the prayer that they received from Lord Shiva. So, Lord Shiva is known as Mahadev. Of all the devatas, he is the greatest. And Lord Shiva, we see that in India especially, he's very popular. So many people go and pray to Lord Shiva. They go to Lord Shiva's temples. And in South India, there's many temples of Lord Shiva. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled in South India, it's not that he only went to Vishnu temples and he didn't go to temples of Lord Shiva. He also visited Lord Shiva's temples. It's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And whenever he went to Lord Shiva's temples, he danced in great ecstasy and chanted the holy name and felt great bliss. In South India and Tamil Nadu, there's a big dispute between the followers of Lord Shiva and the followers of Lord Vishnu. And the followers of Lord Shiva there say that he's God, and the followers of Lord Vishnu, they say that no, Vishnu is the supreme. And of course we understand that Lord Vishnu is the supreme. But if we delve deeply, we understand that Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu are one and the same. From the Brahma Samhita, we understand that who is Lord Shiva? Well, the example is given that Lord Shiva is just the same as Vishnu, in the sense that milk, when it's turned into yogurt, what is it? It's nothing but milk. But due to having been turned into yogurt, it acts in a different way. So Lord Shiva is actually coming from Lord Vishnu, Sadashiv. And Lord Vishnu expands as Lord Shiva for particular purposes. And that particular purpose is that Lord Vishnu doesn't interact with the material energy. Although the material energy is his and it's under his control, specifically he interacts with the material nature through the agency of Lord Shiva. Therefore we see that the husband of Durga, or Parvati, or Ambika, so many different names that she has, is Lord Shiva. And he interacts with her. Therefore people, they go before Lord Shiva and they ask for some material benediction because they know that he can quickly award them what they desire. He's known as Ashatosh, one who is very easily pleased and one who is very easily angered. So Srila Prabhupada explains that when we see Lord Shiva in meditation, it's not that he's meditating on the void or the oneness or the nothingness. No, not like that. He's meditating on his Lord and Master, Ananta, the form of Lord Vishnu. He is in meditation. So when people come to Ashatosh and they ask for some benediction, he quickly awards them so that they'll take whatever they want and go away so that he can get back to his own business. And that is meditating on the Supreme Lord. Go ahead, take it, take it, take it. Right? But we see that Lord Vishnu, he's not like that. Right? He's more concerned that the people that approach him, that they make progress in their spiritual existence. So he may not award them something that they're asking for if it's detrimental to their spiritual progress. Right? So in that way, Lord Shiva is very popular. Right? People are after Lord Shiva like anything. Actually, just opposite the Juhu temple, there's a temple of Lord Shiva. His name is Muktikeshwar, the Lord of Mukti, right? Muktikeshwar. And every Saturday, the temple's packed out with people. Between the crowd of coming to see Radharasa Bihari and the crowd that's coming to see Lord Shiva, the street is completely blocked over the weekend. And we get a lot of trouble from the neighbors because we block the street, they say. Or we say, well, Lord Shiva temple's also blocking. Why are you after us? And they say, well, look at the Radha Krishna temple's also blocking. Why are you after us? But Lord Shiva is there, and in Lord Shiva's temple there's a huge banyan tree. And in Radharasa Bihari's temple there's also a huge banyan tree. And those trees are so huge that they intermingle with each other. They form a kind of canopy over the street. And I always consider that, just like in Vrindavan there's Gopeshwar, and in Mayapur there's Vriddhashiv, and they protect the holy dham. He protects the holy dham, right? Lord Shiva is the Dikpal, one who protects. He protects the four directions in Vrindavan and in Mayapur. And I always consider that Srila Prabhupada, maybe he decided this was a good place to have Radha Krishna because Lord Shiva was right across the street, and he would always protect Shri Shri Radha Ras Bihari's temple. So anyway, the point is that Lord Shiva is he's dear to the Vaishnavas. Right? The Gaudiya Vaishnavas have great affinity for Lord Shiva because of his connection with Lord Krishna and because he can help one in devotional service. Vaishnavanam yata shambhu, that Lord Shiva is the greatest of all the Vaishnavas. Lord Shiva. So when the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord go before Lord Shiva, they are praying to him for advancement in devotional service. Right? He knows what the secrets of devotional service are. He knows that that the highest devotion for Lord Krishna was exhibited by the gopis. He knows that. It's described that Lord Shiva knows, Lord Brahma may know or may not know, and others don't know. But this devotion, pure devotional service, Srila Prabhupada talks in the purport that people who want material things, they go to Lord Shiva, and even persons who approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they may also want some material things. They may have some material desires. And the Lord, by the arrangement of the Lord, He fulfills those desires. The devotee, if he has some desire to fulfill, the Supreme Lord may fulfill that. But Srila Prabhupada also explains that the pure devotees of the Lord, they have no desire for anything. If you render devotional service, if Krishna is very merciful upon you, He won't fulfill your material desires. He'll make life tough for you. Why? So that you have to surrender to Him. Srila Prabhupada explains in his own life that he had a desire to be a big businessman, have a successful chemical company. And he was in Allahabad having his own chemical company, and he used to come to Calcutta to buy different things for his medicines, right? There's a picture in Lilamrita of the day liniment, right, for joint pains and things. So, like that, he was carrying on his business. But then everything was going, the business was going very nicely, and then all of a sudden everything fell apart. Right? So, why? Right? Well, Srila Prabhupada explains, I had my plans, but Krishna had his plans. Right? I was thinking I would do it like this, but Krishna had another idea. So Srila Prabhupada surrendered to Krishna's idea. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to come to him in a dream and calling him to take sannyas. And Srila Prabhupada would wake up in a cold sweat Well, like you just saw a nightmare or something, you know. It's sannyas. You never even dreamed of taking sannyas. Right? So Krishna had his plans, how he wanted to engage Srila Prabhupada in engaging so many other persons in devotional service. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining to us the pure devotee is consequently transferred to Vaikuntha. Even if we have a little bit of material desire, right? Let's say you have 99% devotion to Krishna, then you'll have 1% material desire. If you have 99% material desire, you'll have 1% devotion to Krishna. Right? So Srila Prabhupada many times says, cent percent devotion to Krishna. That is required to go back to the spiritual world. You know the story of Dhruva Maharaj, right? After he left this world, right? He got into the plane, the Pushpa Viman, right? That came from the spiritual world. And death was standing in front of the plane from Vaikuntha that was ready to take him back. So what did he do? He stepped on the head of death and entered into the plane. Right? Such a powerful devotee. And when he was going out, he saw all these planets. He saw Janalok, Mahalok, Tapalok, Siddhalok. Beautiful places. It's like sometimes you go on a trip somewhere, it's a vacation, you got your camera with you, and you see beautiful mountains, or a beautiful lake, a beautiful valley, right? You're attracted by it. You want to take a photograph. You want to remember that place. Or you think, boy, I'd like to camp out there by that lake. That'd be wonderful, right? So if you're going out of the material world towards the spiritual world, and you pass all these beautiful places in the heavenly planets, they don't have sand on the beach. They have diamonds, emeralds, rubies, valuable jewels on the beach. What if you found a whole beach of rubies and emeralds and valuable diamonds? What would you do? Be filling up your pockets, right? So on the way out of the material world, if you're in the Vimahan, the plane that's been sent by the Lord, and you become attracted by one of these places, you have to get down. The plane stops here. Welcome to Tapalok. The temperature outside is, right? We hope you enjoy your stay here in Tapalok. And we hope that we can serve you again on Vaikuntha Airlines. But that stopover is going to be a long time, right? It's not a weekend trip in Tapalok or Mahalok or Siddhalok. It's millions and millions and millions of years. So the devotee of the Lord, he doesn't want to get diverted to one of these heavenly planets, right? But if you have a little bit of desire, that's where you end up. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that when you're chanting the holy name of the Lord, if you chant with offense, your destination will be the heavenly planets. If you chant with namabhas, which is a dim reflection of the holy name, namabhas, then your destination is the Brahmajyoti. And only with Shuddhnam can one enter into the spiritual world. Right? So from this statement we can understand how important the chanting of the holy name is. By chanting the holy name purely, we can enter into the spiritual world. We can go back home, back to Godhead. This place that we live now is not our home, although sometimes we think it is. We're asked, where are you from? Well, I'm from Chicago, right? I'm from St. Louis. This is my home. But actually it's not. You know, in India, when I first went to India, they hadn't seen many foreigners, right? So, especially in a place like far-off place like Mayapur. First Mayapur festival was in 1974, and at that time I was a new devotee and a bhakta, right? So I was in Mayapur, and the Bengali people would see us. You know, they'd never seen such big, tall, white people before, and they used to say, "Sahib, Dego, foreigner." They're foreigners. But in India, I tell the people that actually we're all foreigners. You think I'm a foreigner, but you're also a foreigner, right? Because everyone in the material world is a foreigner. This is not our place. We don't belong here, right? We're only here on a visa. In India, it was so difficult to get your visa extended and stay in India. Right? You can only stay for a certain period, and then they would ask you to leave. Right? So this material world is like that. We're here on a visa. Right? And when it's over, you have to get out. If we're fortunate, if we have obtained the mercy of Krishna and Guru, and we chant the holy name purely, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Then we can go back to our real home. Just like the magazine says, back to Godhead, back to home. Right? In our real home, things are going on there. Krishna is tending the cows, and he's with his cowherd boyfriends. He's playing the flute. He has a peacock feather. He has a yellow dhoti, right? And he's surrounded by millions of loving gopis. Right? A village type atmosphere. Right? In the modes of passion, the modes of ignorance, people are not so much attracted by the village. They're attracted by the city. Cars moving and passionate activities for earning money. Right? But in our real home, things are very different. Right? Things are very peaceful. And you can hear the sound of Krishna's flute everywhere. So this is actually what, if people get a holiday in the city, where do they go? They get 2 weeks off in the summer. Where do they go? They go camping somewhere, isn't it? They stay out with nature, with the trees, by a lake, isn't it? Why is that? Because that's our real home, is a very peaceful place, where everybody is attracted by Krishna. Krishna is the center. In the material world, everyone is trying to be the center. And Srila Prabhupada gave a nice example to the devotees about keeping Krishna as the center. If you have a very nice clear lake, right, and you take a pebble and you drop it into the lake, from wherever the pebble falls into the lake, there will be these concentric circles that go out like this, right? And there may be 1, 2, 3, unlimited, all the way to the shores of the lake. There may be so many circles. But that central point is still the place where you drop the pebble. So Krishna consciousness is like that, keeping Krishna in the center, just like in our temple here. The temple is Kishore Kishori, and they are the center of the temple, right? So if everyone's focus is to please them, somehow or another, with whatever service that we do, whether it's cooking for them, or making garlands, or going out and doing Sankirtan, book distribution, right? Telling people about Kishore Kishori's temple, right? So there can be so many devotees, and there's no problem at all. Right? We have 20, 30 devotees today. We can have 100, 200 tomorrow, and there'll be no difficulty. We're ready. In fact, I think in the Chicago temple over in Evanston, how many devotees they used to have? 75, right? Right. Give or take a few. So there wasn't any problem, right? Easily we can accommodate. Why? Because everyone keeps Krishna in the center. But if you take a bunch of pebbles and throw them in the lake, then there'll be many central points, right? And from each central point, concentric circles will come out. But those circles will bump into the other circles, and there'll be a upheaval. So that's the material world. Everyone is trying to be the center in the material world, as opposed to the spiritual world where Krishna is the center. And those who know how to act with Krishna in the center, right, they can enter into the spiritual world. Krishna reserves the right to restrict the entry of the spiritual world from anyone who doesn't know how to act properly. Acting properly means knowing that Krishna is the center of everything. The cowherd boys knew, the gopis knew. When the cowherd boys sat down with lunch with Krishna, Krishna was the center of everyone's attention. Every cowherd boy felt that Krishna was, and actually it was, that Krishna was interacting with him. They were sharing with each other what they had in the lunch, right? And they would taste something, and if they thought it was nice, then they would give it to Krishna, and then he would eat it. And Lord Brahma was looking from up, he was looking down. And he and the other demigods, along with the other demigods, and they were seeing the cowherd boys enjoying with Krishna, this small boy, 5 years old, laughing and joking and eating half-eaten food. Right? So Lord Brahma was thinking he would test to see if this was actually his Lord. Right? He knew it was, but he thought he would show his mystic power by taking away the calves and the cowherd boys. Right? But by showing his power in front of Krishna, who's Yogeshwara, the all-powerful, right? The source of all mystic powers, he became diminished himself. And ultimately Lord Brahma became completely bewildered because Krishna expanded himself into all the calves and all the cowherd boys again. Right? See the power of Lord Krishna. But through his Yoga Maya, he could do such a thing, right? And he could, for 1 year, keep all the calves' mothers bewildered and the cowherd boys' mothers bewildered, thinking it was their children, but actually it was Krishna. He even had Balaram bewildered. Balaram didn't figure it out for almost a year. But then he did figure it out. He figured out that, boy, these calves, mothers, are more attracted to their children now than they were before. And the cowherd boys' mothers are more attracted. That these cowherd boys are Krishna. Now, Balaram thought that when the Yoga Maya was beginning to wear off, right? And then he realized, well, wait a minute. These cowherd boys and calves, they are Krishna. And then he went to Krishna and he said, hey, did you expand yourself to all these calves and cowherd boys? And Krishna said, well, wait a minute, don't get angry, I'll tell you how it happened. So he explained to him everything. What was the situation? And Balaram was pacified. So then Lord Brahma, he realized his mistake, and he fell down at the feet of Lord Krishna and begged forgiveness and offered beautiful prayers to Lord Krishna. So this is the place that we want to go. We don't want to reside here in the material world. This is the place of politics, conspiracies, and you can get lost in all these things. Like some devotees are very concerned that the 9/11 was actually the government and not the terrorists that blew up the building. Well, maybe. Who knows? This is the material world. But why should we concern ourselves with that? Rather, we should concern ourselves with keeping Krishna as the center. And we know this is a bad place. It's not a place. It's not a fit place for a gentleman, Srila Prabhupada said. Even the demigods, they used to come here for the yagyas. You know, when they do the Swaha, Shanti, Shanti, Om, Shanti, when they perform the Agnihotras, the demigods used to come. But they don't come now in Kali Yuga. They're not interested, right? They're not interested. The mantras aren't chanted properly. There's not sufficient ingredients to attract them. You know how much share they'll get? This much grains everybody's thrown in, right? It's a pittance. Right? So they're not interested to come here. It's like nobody's interested in India to go to the Mutra Loy. You know, it's not a nice place. But they do come when they hear the chanting of the holy name. Even Narada Muni comes. Srila Prabhupada explained in the San Francisco Ratha Yatra. He said, "Oh, did you see Narada Muni?" And the devotee said, "What?" Yes, he came. He came to see the Malechas chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Devarshi Narada comes, and there was one devotee. He used to go out every day on Sankirtan because he thought, today I'll meet Narada Muni. That was his inspiration. So there's the power is in the holy name. It can transport us from this place which is not our home back to the spiritual world. Just like the Prachetas, they satisfied Lord Vishnu by chanting a prayer that was given to them. Right? That's the way it works. Something is handed down, and then by performing that, just like Dhruva, he was given a mantra, right? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And by chanting that mantra, he perfected himself. The Prachetas, they met Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva gave them his prayers. And by chanting those prayers, they perfected themselves. And we're in the same process. We've been given the holy name. And by chanting the holy name purely, we can perfect ourselves. Right? We can transport ourselves back to the spiritual world, where there's no more birth, no more death, no more old age, and no more disease. Let us follow the good example of the Prachetas and perfectly chant the holy name, right? And the prerequisite for that is to become free from offenses. And we can become free from, one of the ways to become free from offenses to the holy name is to by continually chant, to always chant. We have a tendency to chant our 16 rounds and get rid of the bead bag, right? Finished. But rather, we could continue to chant throughout the day. We're doing so many things. So many are regular activities. While we're doing that, we can chant. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. So that's one way to get rid of offenses. Don't stop. Just keep chanting. All the there's other ways, but that's one way. And we can clear off all the offenses so that at the time of death, we can go back home, back to the spiritual world where we're meant to be. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki. Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Jai Gaura Premanande. I didn't ask for questions because it's late. Hare Krishna.